This is music, and this is Tapeworm Terror. So, as some of you know, I've taken an increased interest in the cassette tape as a music medium, and that's because it was the primary music medium when I was a kid. It was the most accessible one. It was the most affordable one for, a kid on a typical allowance in the 80s and the 90s. So recently I've become more interested in cassette tapes again. I've acquired some new tapes. I found a couple of tapes that survived from my old tape collection. This is one of them. There aren't that many. This is one of them. And I figured it would be kind of fun to make some videos talking about these tapes. And I also want to sort of make a channel update. I'm going to do that towards the end of the video. Okay, so this is a demo tape from 94, as far as I remember. It says so in it. It's from 94 by a band called Trend. And these were a kind of a big, huge popular band in the local scene in the town where I lived. They were known for having really crazy live shows where they would take somebody from the audience, somebody who would volunteer from the audience, and they would handcuff them in a pit on stage, or often beneath the stage, and they would just feed them vodka and whiskey and beers throughout the entire show. So normally that audience member would get really, really pissed at the end of the show. They had to stop doing it because there were a couple of times where it kind of went wrong. I think the last time they did it, the person who was handcuffed under the stage ended up running around in the streets, in the middle of the night, naked, almost getting hit by cars, several times because he was so pissed from all the vodka, I think, and whiskey. So they stopped doing that, but they were known for putting on these crazy shows. They actually, they were actually very good musicians. The musicianship was very high. The drummer was very good, the guitarists as well, and the bass player. So the musicianship was actually very, very high. Their style, and that's also the style here, was kind of like groove metal, funk metal. And they had many popular songs. This tape actually only contains one of the songs that were very popular, but they had lots of popular songs, and they were really cool back then. But listening to it now and thinking about the lyrics were kind of dumb, to be perfectly honest. But musically, pretty cool. So this is a demo tape from 94, and the J card is pretty simple. There's nothing on the back. There is this quite simple J card with some information. And as you can see, this is very, very 90s. This looks like a tribal tattoo, and one of them, I think it was the vocalist, ended up having this as a massive tattoo on his back. And then the band broke up, so a bit of a shame. I'm deliberately covering this because there's like an address on it, and since the band has been, shall we say, inactive for more than 20 years, and maybe the person that you could contact probably doesn't even live there anymore, so I don't want people to see that address. But this demo tape has 4 songs on it. It has 2 songs called Respect and Childhood Memories, and they were recorded in 94 and they were mixed by and engineered by somebody called Klaus Pölle. I don't think I know who that is. And the two other songs, Victim of Showbiz and Mr. Cardigan, were recorded in '93, and they were engineered by somebody called Andy Hardmax. Don't know who that is either, and I don't think it's their real names. But it has these 4 songs on it, and it's the same lineup actually on both songs, but they sound quite different because they're recorded in 2 different places. The style is groove metal, funk metal. There's a bit of, slappy, poppy bass every now and then. There's some really groovy riffage, and there's a considerable, I think, influence from Pantera and Rage Against the Machine. Actually, I listened to this for the first time in 25 years or something yesterday, and it was really weird to listen to a cassette tape, because I haven't really done that for 25 years either, right? So that was a weird experience, but I listened to it. It actually sounds pretty good still. I listened to it yesterday, and I realized just how much of an influence Rage Against the Machine seems to have been on this band. I didn't really realize it back then. So the song Respect and the song Childhood Memories are both really groovy. They have groovy riffage going on, some great drumming, some great popping bass, and some slapping bass every now and then. And musically, composition-wise, I think they're actually pretty good. Very catchy, very head-bobbing, not super original. Victim of Showbiz and Mr. Cardigan are a bit rougher, I would say. Victim of Showbiz is okay, I think. It has, again, some good qualities to it, music-wise, but Mr. Cardigan is not good, I think. It's kind of like an attempt at making kind of like a mock ballad, I think. So it has some softer parts, and it has some harder parts, and it has some sort of like gang vocals, because there's a slight influence of hardcore as well on Trent's style. But yeah, it's not a good song. I think I liked it back then. Now, to be honest, I don't like it. What can you do? You change, right? Your taste changes. Another thing that I realized is just how big of an influence this band was on the thrash/groove metal band I was in back in the day. There are some riffs here that obviously I can hear now. They've been an influence on some of the riffs we wrote back in the day. And, I don't think there's anything wrong in that. But, yeah, by the way, the tape looks like this. The label is almost falling off. There's no label on the backside. I don't remember if it had a label that fell off. There's this fun message on it that says, "Attention, copying will breed a virus." So obviously, someone copied this tape at the end of 2019. We've solved it. We've actually solved it. No, just kidding. So groove metal, great musicianship, some very catchy, groovy riffs, but not super original. But I had fun listening to it yesterday, but I didn't gush as much about it as I did back, 25 years ago. Probably more than 25 years ago, to be perfectly honest. Now, one thing, the vocals are, I would say, I didn't think much about it back then, but listening to it yesterday for the first time in 25 years, I think the vocals are actually kind of a weakness. Now, the vocalist was a character, was a showman, right? And that was why he was in the I think he was also the band leader, so that's probably why he was in the band. But that's why people really liked him back in the day, to the point that there were lots of local, sort of like younger bands trying to sound like him, which is kind of interesting because listening to it now, I don't think, I think his vocal style is kind of like the weakness of this album. I wouldn't call it rapping. There's kind of like maybe a rap element to it. It's more like some kind of tough guy, semi-barking style. A lot of like that, right? Respect, that sort of way of going about it, and it can work. But I just think his voice quality just isn't too great, to be perfectly honest. Also, the lyrics are kind of dumb, and you know, if they're delivered in a vocal style that doesn't click with you, and this doesn't click, the vocal style doesn't click with me anymore. I thought it was awesome back in the day. Now it doesn't do it for me. You know what I mean? And maybe ultimately, it's not a critique of the vocalist. It's maybe a critique of my own taste or change in taste, whatever. Doesn't click with me. Think it's a bit of a weakness, but riff wise, musicianship wise, the drumming, the production on the first two songs actually also pretty good. The guitar riffs, the bass, that's all good. I think it's good enough that it's worth checking it out if you can find maybe a copy of it floating about somewhere online, perhaps. But the vocals are a bit of a letdown. But it's kind of within the spirit of the scene at the time. This is from '94, the height of rap metal, the height of street metal, the height of groove metal, and it all kind of, you know, that's just influences on this tape here, this demo tape. And they did end up making one album that you can probably find if you want to and you want to check it out. I actually don't have it, that album. I don't think I've really heard it. As far as I remember, what happened was one of the guitarists left the band to pursue a career as a business owner, I think. Because, I mean, in the 90s in Denmark, being in some sort of metal band, there's no future in that back then. No money in that. Lots of fun, but no money. So I can understand why he would pursue a career as a business owner instead. He left the band, and I think after that, maybe the quality of the songwriting kind of dropped a bit, because I think he wrote some of the good riffs, to be perfectly honest. So I think he was not on that album, and I think I'd kind of lost interest in this band at the time, because of what I perceived maybe as a quality dip. But the quality is all here. It's just the vocals. But if you want to check out the album, it's out there on CD. It was released, I think, on Progress Records or Die Hard Records. They have a number of songs on different compilations, many of which are also released by Progress Records / Die Hard Records. So I think it's possible for you to find some songs and check them out. Finding a copy of this demo physically might be a bit difficult, and I'm not gonna part with this one. So that's Trend. This is one of the few survivors of my original tape collection. As I said, I listened to it for the first time in 25 years yesterday. Still really like the music. It's not as original as I remembered it being, but it's still catchy. It's still groovy. Still very high degree of musicianship. The two first songs I think are very good. Victim of Showbiz is okay. Mr. Cardigan, you know, I would probably have preferred another song on this demo now, but you know, what can you do about it? Um, vocals don't do it for me now. I loved it back then. They don't do it for me now. And it was kind of fun to sort of rediscover where some of the influence on the band I was in came from. Kind of cool that it came from another kind of like underground band, just a couple of tiers above us. But also kind of sad to learn that some of the riffs I thought we came up with on our own, maybe we stole a bit of them from these guys. Whatever. So Trend, I would say check him out if you can find them. You know, give him a listen. Maybe you like the vocal style. It is very, very 90s, all of it. So that's this tape. So the channel update. First of all, I just want to say thanks to everyone who has supported this channel and given me shout outs and, you know, commented on my videos, and just it's a great community to be part of. Now, the rest of the year, I would like to do more like spotlight videos. I want to do more tape videos if I have time for it. But I want to do more spotlight videos. I want to do more triple D videos. I do have, which was a big surprise, 2 orders coming in this year, and that I did not expect to come in until next year, because there were like pre-orders in them. And we know that the vinyl industry is just behind schedule totally these days, but for some reason they came through here. But I'm gonna sit on the update videos for those hauls until next year, and I'm probably gonna make a couple of more tape videos. I'm gonna make some more spotlight or release rambling videos, and I would also like to make some videos kind of like discussing collection or collecting styles, because one thing I've learned from the VC is that there's not one correct way of collecting music media, and there's a lot of respect around different people's individual collection styles. So I figured I would like to make some videos just discussing aspects of my collecting style, and maybe also some videos maybe talking about, you know, what to do with seam splits or things like that. And ultimately my hope, the hidden agenda with those videos, is to get some input from the VC. So maybe I can learn some things and get some inspiration, and maybe I can, you know, give other people some inspiration as well. Who knows? And if it I know there are already a lot of videos out there discussing collection styles, but if, I don't know, if my videos can inspire other people to make some videos in response, that would be a great honor too. But it's really just to sort of discuss that aspect of collecting. So more, rather than just showing off items from my collection, also talk a bit about the collecting style. And I want to make more triple D videos, Danish demo dungeon videos. I've had a bit of a setback, and this is where the mental health issues come into the picture. And I just want to say, first of all, that I'm deliberately using the expression mental health issue. I know it sounds like I'm downplaying it or sort of making it banal or trivial. That's not the point. The thing is that a lot of the other terms that are used, like disorder, mental illness, they're tied in with a lot of debate, and they're very specific, of course. So I figured that I'm just going to use the term mental health issue as a vague term. I know how serious mental health issues are. It's not something to ever make light of. So that's not the point. I'm just trying to be vague, because there are lots of different types of mental health issues, lots of different opinions on it, and so on and so forth. So that's why. But I've had a bit of a setback because as part of preparing for some of the videos, I was actually kind of shocked, well, not kind of, I was downright shocked to learn that one of my old friends, who was part of that scene that I was also a part of, had passed away from suicide, I don't know, 5 years ago or something. last time I saw them, and I'm not going to mention any names or any bands or anything, just out of respect for them and their family and, acquaintances and friends and next of kin. Last time I saw them was in 2008 or 9, probably. We ran into each other on the train, and we had a long and pleasant conversation. It was actually great to see them again. I almost forgot to get off the train when they called at my station, so I had to rush back, then pick off my stuff and elbow people out of the way. And we had a great conversation, and they talked a lot about how they would really like to get back into music and play metal music again. So that was the last time I saw him, and it was one of those cases where you think, oh, I wonder what they're up to. Well, we've got plenty of time to catch up at some point, and then you don't, right? So I was shocked to learn, and I'm not too macho to admit I was also saddened to learn that they had passed away. I could probably have followed up on it more and, contacted some mutual friends, and I could probably have found out why and how, but I decided to not do that. Just, let them rest in peace, because that's obviously what they wanted. And I know that suicide has sort of like different statuses in different cultures. But in a Danish context, it's very likely that it has to do with the mental health issues in one way or another when somebody decides to take their own life. And I'm in no position, I have no background, I have no training, I have no expertise whatsoever on mental health. I'm in no position to dish out any sort of mental health advice or anything. My family does have a history with mental health issues. In my job, I actually do interact with a number of people that have mental health issues, and I also have friends that have mental health issues, right? But that doesn't make me an expert or anything. But I have seen cases in my own family where a family member decided to take their own life in a very, very deep depressive state. And another family member died from complications having to do with a mental health issue that was comorbid with the primary one, which was a very severe anxiety disorder, right? So they died from complications having to do with the comorbid issue, right? Because very often it seems mental health issues are comorbid. They hardly ever come alone. So I've seen that, but I've also seen more cases of people getting treatment from mental health professionals, either medical treatment or therapy or a combination of both, successfully. They don't have that mental health issue anymore. And there are also people I know that have, like more, I guess, chronic mental health issues that have developed strategies to manage them, often in connection, or I guess in connection with, working with some mental health professional. So they can manage the mental health issues and they live rich, fulfilling, happy, great, normal lives. You know what I mean? So I cannot dish out mental health advice, but I do think that it is important to just keep in mind that it doesn't have to end with somebody taking their own life. There are many mental health professionals that can help people. And this is just my opinion. I don't think there's any shame whatsoever in having mental health issues. Doesn't make you a bad person or anything like that. And I think it's a really big problem that there's still so much taboo and stigma associated with mental health issues. I think the way they're represented in the media is a big problem. And I think it's a big shame that people are just still scared to talk about mental health issues, because I think that's one reason why a lot of people don't get the help that they can actually get in most societies. There are mental health professionals. There are psychologists, psychiatrists, social workers, mental health counselors. Even seeing a doctor can help. They can refer you to mental health professionals, and so on and so forth. So there's no shame in having a mental health issue. There's no shame in getting professional help. Just like you would get professional help if you've broken a leg or something like that, right? There's no shame in that. And that's just, it's not advice, it's just my own opinion, right? No shame in that. I would say the mental health professionals are there for a reason, and they can help. Doesn't have to end with somebody taking their own life. Okay, so I know that's kind of a sad and dark note, but I do think it's important to talk about mental health issues. I think it should not be taboo. And yes, I hadn't spoken to this person since 2008, but that they took their own life, that they passed away, that was shocking, and it made me sad. I gotta be honest. Not too macho to admit to that. And again, no shaming having a mental. I don't know what happened here. I don't know if that's the case. I'm just speculating. There's no shaming having mental health issues. There's no shame in asking for help, right? I think I can give this as a piece of advice. You just find a proper trained professional. Don't seek out some kind of hack, because they are there and they are, they do exploit people, right? So that's why, in many countries the system is, you talk to a general physician, they refer you to some kind of mental health expert, right? And there's no shame in that. Just, yeah, that's my message. Mental health issues are important. They should not be taboo. There's no shame in having a mental health issue or more. Doesn't make you a bad person. There's no shame in getting help. So that turned out to be a bit of a long video, and I apologize for that. But I will be making more Triple D videos for sure. So that was Tapeworm Terror, trend, groove metal from back in the day, funk metal. There actually are some thrash metal elements, not that many. Great musicianship, pretty good production for a demo tape back then. Vocals, in my opinion, the weakness, but you might like it. Thanks for watching.